Welcome in, everyone. Ready to dive deep into some Arthur C. Clarke today.
Always ready for that. Should be quite the trip for our listener.
It really will be. We're taking those excerpts you picked out, exploring those incredible worlds from his books.
2010, 2061, even taking a look at 3001 and the Lost Worlds of 2001.
That's right, covering a lot of ground. And you know our listener, always eager to learn. So this will be like an express lane straight to Clarke's most fascinating ideas.
Which is really saying something, because the way he ties together space travel, alien life, what it all means for humanity,
Yeah,
just remarkable.
no doubt. And he's got this knack for taking what seems like pure sci-fi and making it feel, well, believable.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that gravity assist thing, using a planet's pull to speed up spacecraft. He's writing about that back in the 60s.
And barely 15 years later, what happens? Voyager probes, they're using that exact same trick to slingshot around Jupiter out to the rest of the solar system. It's like he glimpsed the future.
Makes you think what we call fiction now might be commonplace soon enough. But it's not just the tech, right? When Clarke describes Jupiter in 2010,
Oh,
those swirling clouds, the storms, that giant red spot.
and the thing is, what he wrote decades ago, it lines up with what we've actually discovered since. The man was incredibly accurate.
It's uncanny, almost like he had a peek at the real deal somehow. But speaking of uncanny, we got to talk about those monoliths, always popping up in his stories.
Those things are like the ultimate symbol of the unknown. Imposing, silent, powerful. It makes you think of Bowman's run-in with one on Japetus in 2001, doesn't it?
Absolutely pivotal moment. Turns everything upside down. Like Clarke's reminding us, no matter how much we think we know, there are forces out there way beyond us.
Exactly. And those forces, as unsettling as they might be, they push us too, expand our understanding of where we fit in the universe.
It's like a challenge to keep learning, keep searching. And that ties in beautifully with another big theme for Clarke, life finding a way. Not just on Earth-like planets either, but in the most extreme environments he could imagine.
Like those creatures he dreamt up on Ao, volcanic and harsh, or even the idea of living gas bags floating through Jupiter's atmosphere. Wild stuff.
Makes you wonder how we even define life in the first place, doesn't it? And then there's that discovery in 2010, those life forms on Europa. Like coral, Professor Chang called them. You can feel his awe in those final moments, the tragedy of it all. It's a powerful reminder, finding life beyond Earth. It won't always be safe or easy.
No, definitely not. Big risks come with big discoveries, that's for sure.
For sure. But for all the focus on cosmic wonders, Clarke never forgets about us, the human element in it all.
Right.
These grand adventures, but at their core, they're stories about people, dealing with love, loss, ambition, those universal experiences.
That's what makes it resonate, I think. We see ourselves in these characters, facing these dilemmas, searching for meaning, for connection, out there in the void.
And those connections, those human bonds, they're explored so well. Like Floyd in 2010, struggling with the mission, but also his feelings for Xenia, shows how, even in deep space, those personal ties still matter. They ground us.
Absolutely do. And not just romantic stuff either. The camaraderie between crewmates, the jokes they share, supporting each other out in the middle of nowhere. That human connection, it's crucial no matter where you go.
It's like we're wired for it. Can't escape it.
Yeah.
Especially when you're isolated, facing the unknown, those bonds become even more vital, wouldn't you say?
For sure. Though it's not always smooth sailing, is it?
Oh, right. Like Floyd and Kurnow in 2010. At first, they clash constantly. Personalities just rub each other wrong.
And yet, over time, they develop this, grudging respect, especially working together to handle all the curveballs thrown their way.
Goes to show, hardship can forge unexpected alliances. And it shows how well Clarke understood people. We're complex, contradictory, capable of fighting and collaborating, often at the same time.
Exactly right. He doesn't shy away from the less flattering parts of human nature either. Remember that scientist in 2061 obsessed with keeping his research on Mount Zeus a secret? Terrified someone might steal the credit.
Oh yeah, good point. Shows that even in the future, with all this advanced tech, those primal urges for recognition, for achievement, they stick around. And those urges, like we see with Captain Laplace and Chang in 2061, they can cause friction, especially when personal ambition bumps up against the greater good.
Definitely. Like Chang deciding he has to investigate that European ocean, even with Laplace's concerns. It raises those ethical questions,
Right.
When does following your own ambition overshadow the responsibility you have to others?
Big question gets even bigger when you think about encountering other intelligent life out there.
Oh, for sure.
And Clarke doesn't sugarcoat the potential consequences either. The fate of those Europans is in 2061, trying to understand the monolith, and it ends in disaster. It's a chilling thought. First contact, not the peaceful exchange we might hope for, but something far more dangerous.
And then he introduces that concept in 3001, the monoliths as farmers,
Farmers.
overseeing the cosmic garden, sometimes doing a bit of weeding.
Okay, now that is chilling. To be seen as just crops at the mercy of forces we can barely comprehend.
It really makes you wonder, what if humanity gets labeled as, well, bad for the garden?
That's a scary thought.
Clarke doesn't shy away from it. He makes us face the possibility. We might not be the most important or even the most wanted species in this vast universe.
Makes you feel pretty small, right?
Yeah.
But there's a strange kind of hope in it, too, I think.
Oh, definitely. Like Clarke saying, look, we might screw up, we might not be top dog. But hey, even acknowledging that, isn't that a step forward?
It's a humbling thought, for sure. But then again, Clarke's characters, they often find a way, don't they?
Yeah.
Like there's this resilience, this ability to adapt and overcome, even when faced with the most mind-blowing stuff.
It's that human spirit,
Right.
right? And he always brings it back to that. Like we could be talking about galaxies colliding, and suddenly you're reminded of what it means to love someone, to lose someone, those core human experiences.
It's what makes his story stick with you. Like that encounter with the Star Child at the end of 2001. What's it all about? Bowman transformed. Some entirely new form of life. It's never spelled out, but it gets under your skin.
Oh, absolutely. Makes you think about the potential for human evolution, maybe even transcending our physical selves entirely. Big stuff. And yet, he brings us back down to Earth, too. Like Poole in 3001, he's resurrected 1,000 years in the future. Everything's changed. But he's still grappling with the fact that he's mortal.
It's like no matter how far we go, how much technology advances, some things about the human experience just remain constant.
Exactly. And those moments of reflection, those confrontations with our limits, that's where Clarke's characters often find deeper meaning, don't they? Deeper connections, too.
Oh, for sure. Those connections are everywhere in his work. Like Floyd and his grandson Chris, both having those weird, uncanny encounters with Bowman in 2061, who's seemingly outside of time itself at that point.
It's as if Clarke's playing with our minds a bit, blurring the lines between reality, perception, maybe even consciousness itself. Are those encounters real? Dreams? Symbolic? It's up to us to figure it out.
He loved to leave those threads dangling, didn't he? To get those what-if conversations going long after you finish the book.
Yeah.
But even when he's in those heady metaphysical spaces, he never strays too far from actual science.
Right, he was a visionary, sure, but grounded in reality, too. Like, he understood the limits of our current knowledge, but
Yeah.
he could still extrapolate, imagine what next scenarios based on what we already know about physics, about the universe.
And the man had an eye for detail. In The Lost Worlds of 2001, he casually mentions a mountain on the moon, says it's less than 12,000 feet high, someone could climb it in about 20 hours. Who thinks about that kind of stuff?
But it shows how meticulous he was. Even in these fantastical settings, he thought about the practicalities, the little details that make a world feel real, and he wasn't afraid to inject a little humor into it all either.
Oh, totally.
Remember in 2061 when they discovered the ice from Halley's Comet? Turns out it's a powerful laxative.
Oh, yeah, who could forget that?
Yeah.
A good reminder that even in the vastness of space, sometimes it's the simple, earthly things that get you.
Absolutely. But speaking of space travel, Clarke didn't just focus on the rockets and planets, right? He thought about how it would change us as a society, as a species. Take hibernation, for example. In 2061, it's practically mundane.
Right. Like Floyd mentions being put back into hibernation if he gets sick on the trip. No big deal, just another part of space travel. By the time we get to 3001, it's even more integrated.
People are commuting between Earth and orbital cities like it's hopping on a train.
And then there are those brain caps in 3001. Instant knowledge downloads. Imagine having access to the sum total of human understanding, just like that.
Changes everything, right? Education, communication. The possibilities are mind-boggling.
It'd be incredible. Though you got to figure there'd be downsides too.
Oh, for sure. Like any technology that powerful, in the wrong hands, it could be used for control, for manipulation.
It's a trade-off, isn't it? The potential benefits versus the risks. And it's a conversation we need to have now, not just in science fiction.
Exactly. Technology is advancing faster every day, so we can't wait until it's too late to think about the ethical implications. But even with all this focus on the future, on these mind-blowing concepts, Clarke always brings it back to what it means to be human.
It's true.
Remember Floyd's wish at the end of 2010? Just a simple desire to be reunited with his son back on Earth.
It's a reminder that no matter how far we explore, those earthly connections, those relationships, they still hold immense power. They ground us.
They do, and in a way, they give us a reason to keep exploring, to keep reaching for the stars.
Yeah, it's that, like you said, that human element that really sets Clarke apart for me.
Mm-hmm.
He could paint these huge cosmic pictures, but he never loses sight of what it means to be, well, us.
He understood that exploring space, it's not just about the science, the tech.
Hmm.
It's about exploring ourselves, too.
Right, like those big questions we all ask about our place in the universe, what we're meant for. Clarke's stories, they make you think about that stuff long after you've put the book down.
Totally. He makes you feel those big emotions right alongside his characters. Like in 2010, Floyd's looking at Jupiter from space, and he's just floored by how massive it is.
Oh, yeah.
He even says there was no way that the mind could grasp its real size. He had to keep telling himself that 50 Earth would not cover the hemisphere now turned toward him. 50 Earths.
It's that feeling of awe, right? Like we're just tiny specks compared to the universe.
But at the same time, there's this thrill, this excitement that we can even begin to grasp something so huge that we can venture out there and explore it.
Definitely. But exploration, it comes with risks, too. Clarke doesn't shy away from that. Like, those creatures on Europa that are sensitive to light, they try to drag the galaxy down into the ocean. And it's a clear sign that not everything out there is friendly.
It's a reality check, for sure.
Like, we got to be prepared, right? First contact might not be all handshakes and greetings. There might be danger out there.
Absolutely. And that's where that whole theme of resilience comes in again. Clarke's characters, they face some pretty intense challenges, but they find ways to adapt, to survive.
They use their smarts, their guts, and sometimes even humor to get through it all.
Because even when you're dealing with the unknown, with the vastness of space, a little laughter, a bit of human connection, it can make a world of difference.
It's what makes his work so powerful, so timeless, I think. He never lets us forget about the human heart, even amidst all the stars and spaceships.
Exactly. And at the end of the day, I think that's the most important thing to remember about exploring the universe. It's not just about conquering new worlds, but about understanding ourselves, our connections to each other, and to everything around us.
Well said. And on that note, I think we've done a pretty good job exploring Clarke's incredible visions today.
I'd say so. Hopefully our listener is feeling inspired to delve a little deeper into Clarke's worlds themselves.
Absolutely. There's always something new to discover with Clarke. So until next time, keep exploring, keep asking those big questions, and as always, thanks for joining us on this deep dive.